Under the blazing golden sun of Fairview, the roar of motorcycles shattered the quiet. Hank Sullivan, a 90-year-old war pilot veteran, stood tall at the gas station, his steely gaze locked on Roman "Reaper" Caldwell, the brutal leader of the Black Talons gang. "Old man, your time's over," Reaper sneered, jabbing a finger at Hank's veteran jacket. Unfazed, Hank shot back, "You call that power? I call it cowardice." As Reaper gripped his wrist, Hank whispered, "You picked the wrong guy to mess with." A cryptic phone call was made, and the rumble of the Patriot Riders' bikes echoed, signaling a storm on the horizon. Will Hank rally Fairview against the darkness? Hit like, share, and subscribe to follow this gripping tale of courage and unity. In the quiet town of Fairview, on a crisp autumn morning, golden sunlight filtered through vibrant red leaves, casting a gentle glow over peaceful streets. Hank Sullivan, a 90-year-old widower, drove his weathered pickup truck to Mary's gas station, a familiar stop for coffee and neighborly chats. His faded denim jacket bore the word "Veteran" across the chest, a subtle nod to his storied past as a helicopter pilot who flew over 250 rescue missions in America's wars, earning the nickname Falcon of the Skies. Despite his lean frame, Hank's back remained straight, his presence unshaken. He stepped into the station, flashing a smile at Mary. "How's the coffee today, Mary?" "Still strong as ever." Mary, wiping down the counter, grinned back. "Strong as your spirit, Hank. But heads up, things might not stay quiet today." Her words hung in the air as the roar of motorcycles tore through the calm. 6 chrome-gleaming bikes rolled into the lot, led by Roman "Reaper" Caldwell, the menacing head of the Black Talons gang. Clad in black leather, his cold eyes and smug smirk radiated arrogance. Spotting the veteran plate on Hank's truck, Reaper sneered, "Old man, your time's done. This is my era now." His crew laughed, but Hank stood unmoved, his gaze steady. "I earn my respect pulling guys like you out of gunfire," he replied, his voice low and sharp. "What have you earned, Reaper, besides bullying the weak?" The air in the station grew taut as a bowstring. Mary gripped the counter while a few customers stood frozen, holding their breath. Reaper stepped closer, his voice a growl. "Who do you think you are, talking to me like that? Fairview's my turf." Hank's faint smile held a glint of steel. "Your turf? Fairview belongs to its people, not rats like you." His boldness caught Reaper off guard, but the gang leader quickly regained his menace. One of his men, Razor, slammed Hank's truck door shut, causing the coffee mug in Hank's hand to crash to the ground, glass shards scattering across the floor. "Watch your mouth, old man," Razor barked. Hank didn't flinch, slowly picking up a shard. He locked eyes with Reaper. "You think this makes you strong? I call it cowardice." Reaper, enraged, closed the gap, grabbing Hank's wrist and squeezing hard. "You want to die right here, old man?" At 90, Hank showed no fear, his voice icy as he whispered, "I've faced men far scarier than you, Reaper, and I've never lost." The crowd murmured, some stepping back, but Mary shouted, "Let him go. Roman, you don't know who you're messing with." Reaper scoffed, but unease flickered in his eyes. Hank, eerily calm, pulled his phone from his jacket, dialed a number, and spoke briefly. "Mike, I need you. Mary's gas station, now." Reaper laughed, assuming Hank called the cops. "Police? They won't touch me, old man." Hank shook his head, a cryptic smile on his lips. "Not the police. The Patriot Riders, led by Steel Mike Callahan. You'd better brace yourself. They don't come to chat." Reaper's smirk vanished. He knew the Patriot Riders, a disciplined group of veteran bikers renowned for their loyalty. "You're bluffing," he growled, but his voice wavered. Hank stared him down. "I don't bluff. You picked the wrong guy to mess with." "Roman." The distant rumble of motorcycles grew louder, like a storm rolling in. Mary exhaled, whispering to a customer, "Hank's no ordinary man. Reaper just stirred a hornet's nest." Reaper signaled his crew to back off, but his eyes stayed glued to Hank, searching for a crack in the old man's confidence. Hank, standing firm in the station lot as autumn wind whipped his silver hair, addressed Reaper. "You've got a choice, Roman. Leave now or face the consequences. I've seen your kind come and go. Fairview doesn't need you." Reaper, seething but sensing the chill of Hank's resolve, took a step back, gesturing to his crew. "This isn't over, old man. Fairview will see me again." But before he could leave, the Patriot Riders' roar grew deafening, a warning impossible to ignore. Hank, unruffled, turned to Mary. "Brew some more coffee, Mary. We're about to have company." Mary laughed, her voice brimming with hope. "I knew you wouldn't let Fairview fall to them, Hank." The tense air shifted to anticipation as the Patriot Riders' rumble drew closer, signaling a seismic change. Hank stood tall, a 90-year-old warrior whose eyes held the grit of a man who'd faced death and won. His call wasn't just for help, it was the opening shot in a battle for Fairview's soul. The roar of the Patriot Riders' motorcycles grew closer, like the pounding heartbeat of Fairview on that autumn morning. Hank Sullivan stood resolute in the gas station lot owned by Mary, his piercing gaze tracking Roman, Reaper, Caldwell, and his Black Talons crew as they edged back toward their bikes. A breeze carried the scent of gasoline and dust, but Hank didn't budge, a mountain defying the storm. From behind the counter, Mary whispered to a customer, "He's not just an old man." Hank was death's nightmare. The rumble intensified, and from the end of Fairview's main road, a formation of over 60 veteran bikers appeared, their leather jackets glinting in the sun, their ranks as disciplined as a military unit. Leading them was Steele Mike Callahan, a 65-year-old with silver hair and a weathered face, his eyes blazing with loyalty. He parked, removed his helmet, and strode over to embrace Hank, leaving the Black Talons stunned. "Colonel Sullivan," Mike said, his voice ringing like a battlefield command, "we're here for you." Hank nodded, his eyes sweeping over the Patriot Riders, each a former soldier bearing their own scars and stories. He stepped forward, his voice low but commanding. "Mike, thank you for coming, but this isn't just about me. These thugs are strangling Fairview, bullying folks, extorting shops. If we don't act, this town will lose its soul." Mike clenched his fist, his eyes fierce. "You pulled me from a burning chopper in '68, Hank. I owe you my life. They want a war? We'll show them what fighting means." The Patriot Riders roared in unison, their shout like thunder, making Razor, one of Reaper's men, flinch and step back. Meanwhile, at an old warehouse on Fairview's outskirts, Reaper gathered his Black Talons, his face flushed with rage. He slammed his hand on a table, sending beer cans crashing to the floor. "An old man and a bunch of washed-up vets dare challenge me? I'll make them regret it." Diesel, his 30-year-old second-in-command, a man with a snake tattoo snaking up his arm, spoke up, his voice low but uneasy. "Roman, that old man's no joke. I've heard of Falcon of the Skies. He pulled people out of places everyone thought were hell. And the Patriot Riders, they're not amateurs." Reaper spun around, snarling, "You scared, Diesel? Don't call me Roman. I'm Reaper. And Fairview's mine." Diesel bowed his head, but his eyes betrayed conflict, as if part of him yearned to escape this path. Back at the gas station, Hank briefed the Patriot Riders, his voice deliberate and weighty. "I'm not looking for a war, but when they threaten innocent people, we can't stand by. The Black Talons aren't just bullying, they're controlling Fairview with fear. We need to take this town back. Not with fists, but with loyalty and unity." A younger veteran, Jake, spoke up. "Hank, what's the plan? Give the order, we're ready." Hank's smile carried a spark of cunning. "First, we protect the people. Escort me home, but don't stop there. Patrol the commercial district, guard the shops. Show the townsfolk they're not alone." Mike nodded, barking orders. "Alpha Team, escort the Colonel. Beta and Charlie, patrol downtown. Move out." The Patriot Riders split into groups, their engines roaring, turning Fairview's streets into a rolling fortress. At the warehouse, Diesel tried reasoning with Reaper. "Roman, we don't need a head-on fight. Maybe negotiate, or at least avoid guys like the Patriot Riders. They're disciplined, like an army." Reaper scoffed, spinning a dagger in his hand. "Negotiate? You think I'm weak? I'll show that old man and his vet buddies who owns Fairview." Another thug, Spike, chimed in, voice laced with venom. "Diesel, if you're scared, stay here. We'll handle Sullivan and his pals." Diesel shook his head, his eyes darkening. "I'm not scared, but I don't want Fairview burned to ash over your ego, Roman." Reaper ignored him, issuing orders. "Gear up. Tonight, we send a message to Fairview. No one defies the Black Talons." Tension gripped the gas station as the Patriot Riders sprang into action. Hank, in his pickup, watched the bikers flank him through familiar streets. Over the radio, he told Mike, "We're not just protecting today, Mike. This is the start of taking back Fairview. But stay sharp or Reaper won't sit still. Mike's voice crackled back firm. Hank, you taught me fighting's not just for winning, it's for those behind you. We won't let you down. As the convoy passed the commercial district, Elena Martinez, owner of Sunflower Cafe, stood outside, watching the Patriot Riders with hopeful eyes. She shouted, "Thank you. Fairview won't back down." Hank, from his truck, nodded to her. "Keep your spirit strong, Elena. We'll need you." In the warehouse, Reaper rallied more men, his voice chilling. "Tonight, we hit the commercial district. Sunflower Cafe, the hardware store, the auto shop, they'll all learn the Black Talons don't play." Diesel, in a corner, clenched his fists, muttering to himself, "What am I doing with my life?" He recalled dreams of being an engineer. Now buried under leather and cigarette smoke, his gaze lingered on Reaper, laughing cruelly, and a seed of doubt sprouted in his heart. As Fairview's sunlight faded, giving way to dusk, the Patriot Riders' rumble echoed, a promise that the town wouldn't fall. Hank, peering through his truck's window, knew the battle was just beginning. He whispered, "Come on, Reaper, we're ready." As dusk painted Fairview's sky crimson, Hank Sullivan stood before the Veteran Center, where dozens of townsfolk gathered, their eyes a mix of anxiety and flickering hope. The rumble of Patriot Riders' motorcycles echoed from the commercial district where they patrolled to shield shops from the Black Talons' threat. Hank, unwavering at 90, stepped onto a platform. His voice a rallying cry, "Fairview isn't just our home. It's where we nurture dreams, families, futures. The Black Talons want to steal that, but I'm telling you, we won't let them win." The crowd clapped, though tension hung heavy. Elena Martinez, owner of Sunflower Cafe, rose, her voice trembling but fierce. "Hank, I've seen them vandalize other shops. My cafe might be next, but I won't run. We have to fight together." Hank nodded, pride in his eyes. "That's right, Elena. We're not just protecting brick and mortar, we're defending Fairview's spirit." Meanwhile, at the dilapidated warehouse on the town's edge, Roman Reaper Caldwell met with his Black Talons, his face dark with fury. "The Patriot Riders think they can scare us," he roared, slamming his fist on a rotting wooden table. "Tonight, we'll show all of Fairview what happens when they defy me." Diesel, his second in command, stood in the corner, eyes heavy. He spoke low, "Roman, we're facing veterans, not civilians. They're organized, strategic. Push too far and we could lose everything." Reaper spun, jabbing a dagger toward Diesel. "You doubting me, Ethan? If you're not in, get out." Diesel bowed his head, but inside, his conflict grew. He recalled dreams of building bridges, designing homes, now buried in the Black Talons' darkness. At the Veteran Center, Sheriff Laura Bennett, a former soldier with her hair tied back, entered, her face grave. She pulled Hank and Mike Callahan aside, whispering, "Hank, I got a tip from a reliable source. The Black Talons aren't just extorting, they're running a major drug ring, and someone in town hall is covering for them." Hank narrowed his eyes, his voice icy. "A mole? Laura, any idea who?" Laura shook her head. "Not yet, but I'm digging. My worry is the Talons are planning a bigger strike. They might have called in backup." Mike clenched his fists. "Hank, if they hit, we're ready. But we need a plan." Hank nodded, a glint of cunning in his eyes. "We can't brawl like thugs. We outsmart them, protect the shops, gather evidence on the drugs, and let them expose their own weaknesses." The Patriot Riders swiftly executed the plan, splitting into small teams to patrol the commercial district, focusing on Elena's Sunflower Cafe and Mary's hardware store. Elena, outside her cafe, hung a new sign, "Fairview stands strong." She told Jake, a young veteran, "If they come, I'll stand my ground. This isn't just a cafe, it's my dream." Jake grinned. "You're not alone, Elena. We've got your back." Meanwhile, Hank and Laura met privately at the center, plotting to trap the mole by leaking false info about a major patrol. Hank said, "Whoever's betraying Fairview will show themselves. And once we have proof of the drugs, the Talons are done." But the Black Talons didn't wait. Under cover of night, over 40 riders, bolstered by out-of-town gangs, stormed the commercial district. Glass shattered, and the crack of Molotov cocktails echoed as Sunflower Cafe, the hardware store, and an auto shop erupted in flames. Fairview became a battlefield, black smoke rising, screams piercing the air. Elena, standing amid her cafe's ruins, shouted at Reaper, who laughed maniacally from his bike. "You think fire will make me quit? Fairview will rise, and you'll regret this." Reaper, eyes wild, shot back. "You're an ant, Martinez. I'll crush this whole town." But before he could ride off, the Patriot Riders appeared, blocking their path. Mike bellowed, "Reaper, this is your last warning. Leave Fairview or face us." Reaper laughed, but unease flickered in his eyes at the Riders' discipline. Hank arrived at the scene, standing amid sunflowers' ashes, his eyes blazing. "They thought fire would break us, but they're wrong. Fire forges us stronger. Elena, Mary, everyone will rebuild and we'll win." The townsfolk, though scared, rallied, grabbing buckets and tools to douse the flames. Laura, leading her deputies, reported, "Hank, I've got their license plates on record. We'll have evidence." Hank nodded. "Good, Laura. But it's not enough. We hit their heart, the drugs and whoever's backing them." Elena, wiping tears, gripped Hank's hand. "Mr. Sullivan, I won't give up. But how do we fight a gang this big?" Hank looked at her, his voice warm yet firm. "Not just with strength, Elena. With smarts and faith. Fairview won't fall." In the warehouse, Reaper felt the pressure mounting. Diesel, in the shadows, said, "Roman, we're going too far. The town's uniting. Keep this up, and we'll lose everything." Reaper slapped him, roaring, "You betraying me? I'll show Sullivan and Fairview hell." But Diesel, for the first time, didn't back down. He stared at Reaper, his voice cold. "I'm not betraying you, but I'm not dying for your madness." Outside, the Patriot Riders' rumble persisted, a reminder that Fairview was shifting and the Black Talons were losing their grip. Beneath Fairview's silver moonlight, the air hung heavy with the lingering stench of smoke from the Black Talons' arson. Hank Sullivan, 90 years old, stood amid the ruins of Sunflower Cafe, his eyes blazing with resolve. The Patriot Riders, townsfolk, and Sheriff Laura Bennett gathered at the Veteran Center, where Hank unveiled a bold plan to reclaim Fairview. "We've held the commercial district, but the Black Talons won't stop," he said, his voice resonant. "They're desperate, and that makes them dangerous. We rebuild, reorganize, and defeat them with the strength of our community." Elena Martinez, hands still smudged with ash, stood up, her voice fierce despite trembling. "Hank, my cafe's gone, but I'll reopen. Even if it's just one table, we need to show them Fairview won't fall." The crowd cheered, their roar a sworn oath. Mike Callahan, Patriot Riders leader, nodded. "Hank, give the order. We'll make Fairview a fortress." Hank's smile carried cunning. "We'll buy the old factory at the town's edge, turn it into a stronghold, raise funds to rebuild shops. Most importantly, organize the townsfolk into patrol teams. The Talons will see they're not fighting one man, but all of Fairview." At the old warehouse, Roman, Reaper, Caldwell felt control slipping. Slumped in a chair, clutching a whiskey bottle, his eyes bloodshot, he snarled, "Sullivan and his vets think they can stop me. They'll pay." Diesel, his second in command, stood in the corner, voice low with concern. "Roman, the town's uniting. We burned their shops, but they're still standing. Keep this up, and we'll lose Fairview, and everything." Reaper smashed the bottle on the floor, roaring, "You betraying me, Ethan?" I called in more men, guys who don't know fear. He revealed Victor Kane, a professional mercenary and ex-special forces, backed by a crew hired by the federal crime syndicate fueling the Talons' drug ring. Diesel shook his head. "Mercenaries. Roman, they don't care about Fairview. They're in it for cash. And they'll destroy everything." Reaper's maniacal laugh echoed. "That's exactly what I want. Sullivan will kneel before me." In Fairview, rebuilding surged forward. Patriot Riders and townsfolk worked tirelessly, transforming the old factory into a fortified community hub with training rooms and supply caches. Elena led youths in fundraising, selling pastries in the town square, chanting, "Every cookie's a brick to rebuild Fairview." Hank, passing by, squeezed her hand. "You're doing great, Elena. This is the spirit we need." Meanwhile, Laura uncovered the mole in Town Hall. Carl, a senior clerk, through her fake patrol leak. Confronting him, Carl confessed, "I didn't want to, but the Talons threatened my family." Laura's voice was ice. "Cooperate, Carl, or your family will be ashamed of you." He nodded, agreeing to reveal the Talons' drug stashes. A new threat emerged with Victor Kane and his mercenaries' arrival. Kane, face like stone and eyes devoid of emotion, met Reaper at the warehouse. "You pay, I work," he said flatly. "Sullivan's the primary target. He's the rebellion's soul." Reaper grinned. "Perfect. Take him out and Fairview crumbles." Diesel, lingering behind, felt his stomach twist. He whispered to a lackey, "Kane's not like us. He'll kill anyone in his way. Even us." Inside, Diesel's conflict grew, his dream of engineering clashing with the blood and fire path he'd chosen. Hank, sensing the mercenary threat, called an urgent meeting at the new factory. "Kane's not like Reaper," he said gravely. "He's a killing machine, no morals. A direct fight and we lose." Mike, fists tight, replied, "So what's the play, Hank?" "Running's not an option." Hank shook his head, eyes glinting with a daring idea. "We don't run. I'll be the bait. If they want me, I'll let them come on our terms." Laura protested. "Hank, you're crazy. You're 90, let us handle it." Hank smiled. "Laura, I've survived missions others called suicide. This is my last fight, and I won't let Fairview fall." The plan unfolded. Hank began appearing alone, strolling past Sunflower, the park, the church, deliberately letting Kane and the Talons track him. The Patriot Riders vanished, hiding in buildings, coordinating via covert radios. Townsfolk, trained by Elena, passed messages through whispers and hand signals. Carl, now cooperating, revealed the Talons' drug stash locations. Kane, believing Hank was easy prey, set up a kill zone around Sunflower. There, he confronted Hank, pistol in hand. "Old man, I'm paid to end you. Any last words?" Hank, sipping coffee in his usual chair, replied, "You fight for money?" Kane, "I fight for people. You lost the moment you stepped into Fairview." Kane smirked. "You've got 30 minutes to leave, or I turn this place to ash." When the deadline hit, every light in town went dark. Spotlights from buildings blazed, exposing the mercenaries, Patriot Riders. Townsfolk and Laura's deputies struck from all sides, wielding shotguns and clubs. DA helicopters and federal agents swooped in, surrounding the drug stashes. Kane, caught off guard, roared, "Fall back!" But it was too late. Reaper, in a panic, fled to the old factory, where he'd rigged explosives to destroy Fairview. Hank, leading the pursuit, used his knowledge of the town to corner Reaper at a construction site. Reaper, trapped, raised the detonator. "If I can't have Fairview, no one will." Hank stepped closer, voice steady. "Roman, you can still stop. Don't let anger define you." From the shadows, Diesel emerged, gun trembling. "Roman, I've gone too far with you," he choked out. "But I'm done with the blood." He shot Reaper's hand, dislodging the detonator. Reaper screamed, collapsing as he was cuffed. At dawn, Fairview exhaled. Hank stood at the construction site, his gaze softening as he looked at Diesel. "You made the right choice, Ethan." Elena ran up, hugging Hank. "You saved us." Hank shook his head. "No, Elena, we saved each other." Police sirens wailed, signaling victory, but Hank knew the fight for Fairview's soul wasn't over. Dawn's radiant glow swept over Fairview, banishing the shadows of chaotic days. The town, though scarred from the Black Talons' arson, pulsed with renewal. Hammers clanging, townsfolk laughing, and the steadfast presence of the Patriot Riders. Hank Sullivan, 90, stood before the revamped community center, once an old factory, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction as he watched residents work together. Elena Martinez's Sunflower Cafe, though raised, rose again with fresh walls, the aroma of coffee wafting anew. Elena hung a new sign, "Fairview Reborn," and approached Hank, her smile bright. "Mr. Sullivan, without you, we'd have given up long ago. Now the whole town's standing tall." Hank rested a hand on her shoulder. "Elena, I just lit the spark. You all kept it burning." Meanwhile, in a jail miles from Fairview, Roman, Reaper, Caldwell sat behind bars, his eyes hollow, face etched with defeat. But not all Black Talons shared his fate. Ethan Diesel Cole, who stopped Reaper's bomb, stood before the community center, his old leather jacket swapped for a clean shirt. He faced Hank, voice trembling. "Mr. Sullivan, I've done a lot of wrong, but seeing you stand fearless at that construction site, I knew I had to change. I want to help Fairview if you let me." Hank peered into Ethan's eyes, his gaze stern yet kind. Ethan, your past doesn't define you, but you've got to prove you're worthy of this chance. Not with words, but actions. Ethan nodded, gripping Hank's hand. I will, sir. I promise. Victor Kane, the mercenary who terrorized Fairview, sent a letter from federal prison. It read, Sullivan, I've never met anyone like you. If I get out, I want to work with the Patriot Riders. Not for money, but to understand what drives you. Hank, reading it in his small office at the center, smiled. Kane, if you mean it, learn to put community above yourself. That's our way. He sent a brief reply. There's always a chance, but you've got to earn it. In prison, Kane held the note, a flicker of hope in his eyes for the first time. A year later, Fairview had transformed. The community center became the town's heart, hosting trade classes, veteran support programs, and gatherings where residents shared their stories. Ethan, now a mechanic at a local garage, taught teens engine repair, his eyes alight as he spoke of his old engineering dreams. I thought I couldn't come back, he told a student, but Fairview gave me a new path. Elena, now a town council member, ran events at Sunflower, making it a hub for young and old. Pouring coffee, she beamed. This isn't just coffee, it's Fairview's spirit. Mary's hardware store reopened, backed by a community fund started by the Patriot Riders. Behind her counter, Mary told Hank, You turned this town into a family, Hank. I've never seen anything like it. Fairview's change rippled beyond its borders. Officials from nearby cities visited, studying its unity as a model. A reporter, interviewing Hank, asked, How did you, at 90, inspire an entire town? Hank shook his head, voice low. It wasn't me. It was Elena, Ethan, Mike, Mary. They chose to stand not for me, but for themselves. The most moving moment came at a Fairview Square ceremony, where a monument was unveiled, inscribed, Strength through Trust. Hank addressed the crowd. We didn't win by destroying our enemies. We won by showing them a better way. Fairview's strong because we believe in each other and leave no one behind, even those who've lost their way. The young woman stepped from the crowd, long hair tied back, eyes shy but resolute. I'm Lily Caldwell, Roman's sister, she said. I know my brother caused pain, but I want to make it right. Mr. Sullivan, can you give me a chance? Murmurs spread, but Hank extended his hand, voice warm. Lily, Fairview's home to anyone who wants to do right. Stay and build with us. He embraced her, and the crowd's applause surged like a wave, washing away doubt. Lily, eyes brimming, whispered, Thank you. I won't let you down. That evening, Hank sat on his porch, watching kids bike down the street, escorted by Patriot Riders. Mike Callahan, beside him, sipped a beer. Hank, you made Fairview a miracle. Did you know it from the start? Hank chuckled, eyes distant. Mike, I just wanted to protect the people I love. But sometimes, the biggest things happen when you let folks find their own light. He gazed at the moonlit sky over Fairview, now a beacon of resilience and redemption. Children's laughter mingled with the distant hum of motorcycles, no longer a sound of fear but the heartbeat of an unbreakable community. Hank, with a contented smile, knew he'd helped Fairview reclaim itself and given lost souls like Ethan and Lily a chance to shine. The story of Hank Sullivan and Fairview is a powerful lesson in courage, unity, and the transformative power of redemption. Hank, a 90-year-old veteran, proved that age doesn't limit the will to protect a community. Facing the brutal Black Talons gang, he didn't rely solely on personal strength but ignited the collective spirit of the town. From young Elena to Ethan, a man once lost to the wrong path, Fairview's revival came not through violence but through faith in human potential for change, even in people like Ethan and Lily. The profound takeaway is that true strength lies in building, not destroying, and everyone deserves a chance to start anew. This tale reminds us that when we stand together, no darkness can outshine a community's light. Hit like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Let's spread the spirit of unity and hope to everyone.